Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at the techniques to create realistic looking reflections inside After Effects. And with this, you can make a 2D image look like a 3D render right inside After Effects. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, let's start a new composition by clicking on the composition icon at the bottom of the projects panel, and let's call it Glossy Intro, 30 FPS, 5 seconds long composition. That'll be our main composition, and let's go to File Import and import our logo, and go to Composition, New Composition, and let's create a new composition called Logo, and let's drag the logo into the composition and press S on the keyboard to reveal the scale attributes, and let's scale it down to fit it into the composition. And in the main composition, let's create a new solid and let's call it background, because it'll be our main background for the composition. Now let's drag the logo into the main composition and let's turn it into 3D like so. And now let's launch the MoGraph Master Toolbox in the bottom of the Windows panel. Now don't freak out, just follow the link in the description and you can download this tool. You don't have to give your email address or anything, just download it and it's free to use. It's very simple to install too, just follow the instructions given in the description. Alright, what we're going to create is a very simple camera system. Let's just click on this button right here and a camera system will be created. Let's close it and select Camera Transform Control 1 and 2 and rotate the 1 in X-axis and 2 in Z-axis to get a good view in the 3D in the 3D report. And let's keyframe the camera position and Z and X controls. Rotate X on Transform 1, rotate Z on Transform 2, and let's keyframe them like so. Why we need this rig is to animate like this. I mean, I'm animating these X-axis in the Transform Control 1 and Z-axis in the Transform Control 2, which saves tons of trouble when animating the camera. So let's lock these layers and the background too. Now let's duplicate these layers and move it in Z-axis to extrude the logo. We can do it like this, but in this case, the easiest way is to use the MoGraph Master Toolbox, and in the Make Extrusion section, let's type 24 here and 2 here, and click on the button Make Extrusion. What it does is it duplicates the logo another 24 copies, 2 units apart along the Z-axis, which makes this extruded logo. Let's turn the topmost layer to blue. That's an important layer. And let's right click on the second layer, go to Effects, Generate Fill, and let's create a new null object and call it Controls, and let's apply expression controls, a color control, and press E while the control layer is selected, and press E again with the second layer is being selected. And while holding down the Alt key or Options key on Mac, just click on the stopwatch next to the color control and it will create an expression, and you have to pick whip the color attribute of the color control that we have just created in the controls layer to link these two properties. Now let's copy this fill effect and paste it onto all the other layers beneath that layer. Now we have one control here to control the color of the extrusion. Let's choose maybe a light gray color for the extrusion, but still this is flat. This is 2D and flat. It doesn't look good. So let's select the second layer again and go to Effects, Perspective, and Bevel Alpha, and let's copy that effect and paste it onto all the other layers as well, and that gives you some depth, some shading, but still it looks like it's floating in the air. So let's duplicate the bottommost layer and delete these 2 effects on it, and turn the layer to green, and let's name it like Occlusion, and go to Effects, Perspective, and Drop Shadow. Set the distance to 0, softness to 120, and opacity Let's turn it into 100. There are too many layers here, so let's select all these layers and turn on the shy layer button, and let's lock them too, and turn on the shy button there to hide them. All right, let's apply an expression control, a second expression control on the controls layer, a color control again, and as the same way we did earlier, let's link the shadow color to the occlusion color right there, and duplicate this layer. And maybe for the second layer, let's turn the softness down to 90, and for the third one, let's turn it down to 40 maybe. Let's change the occlusion color to a dark blue maybe, and let's turn the opacity down to like 25. You can select the layers and press T on the keyboard to reveal the opacity attribute. Let's change the occlusion color even darker here. What I'm doing here is getting the logo to look as 3D as possible. That's why I'm trying so hard here. So we did a lot of work. Now, yeah, it looks 3D because After Effects is not a 3D software. That's why this is so hard. Now let's find the logo composition in the projects panel and drag that onto the composition icon to make a pre-comp, and let's name it Logo Glossy. You know, back in the day when I was young and naive, when I want to do a gloss effect, I would go to layer new and create a solid, maybe a white solid, and draw a mask like this, and press M on the keyboard and animate the mask path like that. Let's drag the keyframe right there, and maybe let's animate it over 18, 19 or 20 frames. And let's duplicate the logo layer, drag it about that solid, and set it as an alpha matte to the solid. And let's trim these two layers right here. All right, you can make you can duplicate these layers like so. Now you're duplicating the animation. That's how it's going to look like. Let's actually decrease the transparency, and let's actually make some few adjustments here. Let's drag the keyframes like so, because I think it's the existing animation is going to look too fast. All right, let's drag it even more. All right, this is our final animation. This is how it's going to look like. And if you look at that animation, that gloss that you see right there is actually lame. I'm not saying it's completely lame. This might work in some cases still, but that's not what we're going to do here. We're going to make some complex looking gloss effect. So let's go to layer, pre-compose, and pre-compose all those layers as a simple glossy effect. Let's put it away. We'll need it later to compare. Let's hide it once again. All right, now let's start creating the complex gloss effect that we are after. Let's create a new composition called the reflection map. That's the first thing we're gonna make. 5 seconds long, 30 FPS composition. Let's go to layer new solid, and right click on it, go to effects, noise and grain, and apply fractional noise. And let's choose block from here and reduce complexity down to like 2. All right, and let's scale it up like so, and adjust the brightness and contrast to have a nice contrast there. And let's rotate it like so, and we're going to animate it later. Let's adjust the brightness contrast even more, and let's write an expression here called like time times maybe 350 is going to be too fast actually. Let's do 150. Yeah, that's looking good. And let's animate the offset turbulence as well. And this is how it's going to look like. This will be our reflection map. Right click on the effects controls panel, effects, blur, sharpen, and fast blur. Let's turn on the repeat edge pixels, and yeah, blur it up a little bit. And let's drag that reflection map comp into the logo glossy composition, and let's duplicate the logo, and let's set the logo map as an alpha matte onto the reflection map. Now let's change the blending mode to screen, and this is how it's going to look like. Now it's looking, it's something, but still it's flat. It's not reacting to the details of the composition. It should wrap around the edges and the inner detail of the logo. In order to do that, we have to capture the inner details, like these two lines in the logo. So let's drag the logo composition onto the composition icon to pre-compose it, and let's call it logo contours. All right, in the logo contours composition, let's duplicate the logo layer, and for the bottommost layer, let's apply effects, generate fill, and let's turn it to white, pure white. And for the second layer above, let's go to generate, effects generate, and Vegas. Let's apply Vegas, and let's actually turn the segments into 1 and set the blend mode to transparent, and set the color to black, and set all these values to 1, and have some hardness there. All right, now we have to capture the alpha channel. Actually, let's go to image contours, and in the channel, let's choose alpha. Now, all right, now we have captured the edges. We need the inner details as well, so let's duplicate the logo. Let's call it level 1. Let's duplicate the layer, and in that, let's choose intensity for the channel, and let's change the threshold value until we capture the inner detail. In this case, those two lines in the logo. Now this is a very simple example. We'll do a complex one later. Now let's drag the logo contours composition into the logo glossy layer, and let's change these, change the colors of these layers. And here, for the reflection map, right click, go to effects, stylize, and apply CC class. And in the surface rollout, let's choose that logo contours for the bump map. And you'll see something here, something happening here. And let's change these values, softness, and the height, and maybe displacement. And you can see now we are capturing the inner detail. Now the logo, the glossy effect is now wrapping around the details, the edges, the corners, and even the inner detail of the logo. Let's change these values until we find a good look right there. All right, let's turn it down to turn the opacity down to like 60 maybe, because it's too harsh at 100%. And this is how it's going to look like. Now it's actually better, and but we can make it even better. On the reflection map, let's right click, go to effects, distort, and apply CC blobilize, and apply the logo contours as the bump map once again, and adjust these layers. So maybe cut away, you can set it to 0 even, and the softness is what matters here. Let's apply a little bit more, like so. And this really depends. These values really depends on the logo that you're working with. And for this one, let's actually eyeball it. All right, that looks, this is too distorted. Let's actually turn it down. All right, I choose alpha for the property, and that looks really good. Not the lightness, but the alpha. For this instance, the alpha looks really good. Now that's how it's going to look like. But now let's try on a different logo. Let's go to File, Import, File, and import a complex looking logo like this one. let's because of the way we did the composition, we just have to replace the logo in one place and everything will update. Let's replace it right here. But now in the controls composition, we are not capturing enough detail. So let's duplicate these levels. Like let's go to like level 3 and 4, and let's select this each of these layers and change the threshold value until we capture enough detail. I say enough detail because too much detail can make it look bad. So if I hide these layers, now these are the details that we have captured in different levels. Now look at that. Now the gloss effect is now wrapping around all the inner detail of the logo. So let's hide these layers. You know, if we haven't captured much detail, it's not going to look good. So let's bring them back and go to the main composition, and let's change the extrusion color and maybe the occlusion color as well. And this is how it's going to look like. Look at that. All that gloss effect, or that reflection is now reacting to the inner detail of the logo. Not just the edges, but the inner detail as well. In this case, the nose, the whiskers, and the teeth and everything. And it really looks like that it's 3D. And it's amazing that you can do this inside After Effects, because this actually looks like a 3D render. Here's a little side-by-side comparison. You can see how flat and actually lame is the reflections in the render of the screen right, and how realistic is the glossy effect, the reflections on the render on the screen left. So that's what you can do with this technique. So if you learned something, just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. I'll see you in another tutorial really soon. Bye bye.